Welcome to another weekend here on the platform. My name is Sam Omashe. Here is my column.
In pre-modern times, the road was no thoroughfare. It is what we call a bush path, sinuous, dusty, often tranquil, with the scent of earth and trees and the cargo of soft winds. Today, whether in the village or in the city, the road enjoys no odes. Road became centerpiece last week. The BOS of Lagos, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, stepped in with a bang. Okada riders cannot have their way in key areas in the state. Just like in Soyinka's The Road, the mask is off. No more the impunity of boys on bikes. No more the traffic subverts, the ones who dictate where the center of the road is, who hog highways and clog streets, who turn expressways to the way to express lawlessness. Men with heads filled only with air, cant and uncanny talent for violence. As I wrote in a poem, the bike is not a ride, but a way to die. On one of its major arteries, we witnessed a man called David Imo, who passed on over a dispute on a bike. The row between two became a metaphor for a nation unable to move without bloodshed. It happened not long after the Deborah Samuel tragedy in Sokoto. The riders of Okada are mostly not Nigerians, and most of them have no respect for law and order, and they belong to the class of marauders that have made the North prostrate with blood and death. The other unknown is who are those who have no bikes, but who moon about on street sides or straggle at night like loafers. If the bike could be lethal, what of a mass of them? We have seen that the bike ought to be banned in parts of the North. Hoodlums see it as their cruise missile or warhead. They ride it to burn down edifices, mow down churches and mosques, kidnap hundreds, as in the Abuja-Kaduna train wreck. The matter is being ethnicized. It's about safety, not tribe. The leaders of the Hausa community begged and blackmailed simultaneously, saying they would caution them and that they're a block vote. That cannot draw water. It's not about votes. We have to be alive first before we can cast our votes. What we also need to address is the immigration policy. Where are the documents of most of those riders and their friends who have no bikes? Okada is also a hospital nightmare. Broken bones, limp and limbless citizens are all over hospitals in the state, especially Igbobi. The alternative may not be easy, but it can be done. The 7-seater Korokwe, a bus that is now filling the streets, can replace Okada. They don't run fast enough for a militant there, and they cannot slide and hide. They reach any part of town like the buses of the days before Okada. Banning Okada will cause some hardship and a sense of loss, but better to be alive than to live under the shadow of fear.
The life as a student took different forms. You were in Ibadan,
Yes.
you went to King's College,
Yes.
where you met some people, you met Stanley.
Stanley came to teach. Stanley taught my class, yes.
Yes. Then you also had a schoolmate in BJ, Biodun.
Oh, BJ, yes,
and all of that.
Absolutely, yes.
And then there was also the story of your meeting with Wole Soyinka and how eventually you had this wine encounter. Can you tell us something about it?
No, that was Soyinka had just been released from prison.
Yes.
And we all went to see him. I had gone to, it's interesting. When I was in Kano on holidays, my first year in Ibadan, 68 session, 69 session. No, 67, 68 session. So I went to Kano, I went to spend the summer with my father in Kano. And I went to the Kaduna prisons to see if I could see. Soyinka was moved from Kirikiri to Kaduna briefly. I wasn't allowed to see him. I was taken there by my father's good friend, a very good lawyer in Kano at the time, Ayinde Tani. And Majagbe, a prominent lawyer now who's in his 80s, was working with Majagbe at the time. Anyway, so I didn't see him. And then when he was released from prison, I was now in my first year at Ibadan. We all went to see him. And I went there and we met him in the house. The few days after that, he gave a lecture. And the title of that lecture, I've never forgotten. The title of, I said it in the book.
You said in the book, yeah.
The title of the lecture was Let Nations, or something about Let Nations
Nations Be or something.
something about, yes, you know. And I asked the question.
And it's a topic he kept
He
going
went,
back
well,
to.
I said it in the book.
Yeah.
And then I asked a question about Kungis harvest and all that. And it was a question that he liked and said, oh, but be careful, don't get into this radical extreme. Literally. So he told, after he gave the lecture, we came out and saw him outside, and he met all of us. And he then said, oh, yes, you were the one that asked the question. I said, yes, sir. So we're going to come and see him in the office. Yes. I went to see him in the office. And then the next day, he came to my hall in Kuti.
And everybody was like...
And they said, Shoyinka, who's he looking for here? And then he was looking for me. And I thought, yeah, then he took me out that night. We went to Femi Johnson's house.
Johnson, yeah.
We got there. We now met. I met Bola Ige. Now, Bola Ige, I thought, I'd heard about him. I never met him. And I thought Bola Ige looked quite... The image of him that I had was that of a big, but he was a smallish guy, very modest frame. And we said that. And they all just saw me as one of Shoyinka's boys. And I went out to dinner with them. And I got there, and if you read the book from the beginning, Mama always gave us Dubonnet wine at Christmas.
Yes, Dubonnet.
So my idea of wine was something that was sweet. And so we got to this dinner session, and they served wine, and the wine was not sweet. I thought, oh my God, I almost poured it out. I said, what is this? This is that. So they all very just looked at me. I said, what's this, boy? Come on, this is wine. I said, no, this is not sweet, you know. Anyway. Shoyinka at that point said, no, Yemi, take it easy. You will learn about this. Wines, some wines are sweet, some are not sweet. And then he took me through this process of learning about wines, and it took quite some time. And I got used to.
And then, then you do almost 2 pages of.
On
wines and wine.
No, BJ, my friend BJ, who wrote the foreword to the book, doesn't like that section of the book.
He doesn't like
Don't mind him. They're all jealous of the fact that of all of us who are Shoyinka's quote unquote boys, I was the only one that developed a taste for wine. BJ is jealous. Don't mind him. You know?
Because he's a Marxist, probably.
Don't mind him. He must be jealous. He said that was a very. What did he call that section of the book? I forgot what he said. But anyway, he didn't like it. But that's fine. That's fine. So I learned so much about wines from Wole Soyinka. And another thing for me, being close to him was an experience that, as I say in the book, as we live with him for the rest of my life. I mean, he had a great impact on me. But for Soyinka, I would not have gone abroad for my graduate studies. Yes. I didn't do well. I mean, I had a lower second, and it was not a good degree. I was looking for an upper second. Then I didn't do well enough. But then he said, "Don't worry, you will do well, and I'll make sure you go to graduate school." And through his efforts and all that, I didn't apply to go to New York University. He just called them up, and I was admitted to do an MA program. I did very well enough to be given the Luther King Prize for the best black student at New York University by first year. So I owe a lot to him. But those wine drinking experiences were they were wonderful times, and I gradually learned about wines. Now I can tell you which is a good wine. BJ can do that. Don't mind.
Now you met your wife.
Yes.
In a very, very unusual circumstances.
Yes.
You were not going to go to that event until the brother of
Samamuka.
Sam,
Yes.
said, "Come on, let's go." And then he leaves you there, and you meet this young lady who was just sitting across.
Yes.
And it was just as if it was an arranged thing.
You read the book, so yeah, that's good. That's good.
It was not arranged. Yeah. And he walked away, and you guys just connected over time. And after a while, she was to go to a program in the US.
True.
And you two were to go to a program in the US.
Yes.
And then Papa says, you have to marry before you go.
Everything worked out well. Yeah. You're right, Sam. You read the book.
But what is interesting to me is when you had your first son.
Yes.
How do you explain your loss of memory?
That's an interesting part of the book. I mean, I read that section this afternoon again. I said, what happened to me there? I mean, the child was born. Baptist Hospital was a stone throw from where I lived in Manhattan. And instead of just walking across, I got into my car and I drove to the place. And it was like somebody was crazy because I could have walked easily. 5 minutes, I would be at the hospital from where I lived.
Yeah.
And then, of course, forgot my car there for 2 days. And I kept on saying, where is my car? I'm telling you, I went totally blank. And I kept on saying to myself, if someone is overjoyed, does it lead to that kind of frenzied forgetfulness? But it was an interesting moment for us, and I have now forgotten it. And that's why I thought I needed to tell that story.
What do you call it? You call it forgetful?
I don't know. I've asked.
Ecstasy.
I've said that psychologists
Amnesiac.
Psychologists should come to my age because I don't know what it is there. Something happened to me there. And for 2 days, when I left the hospital after seeing the baby, and I forgot that the car was parked in a 1 hour limited, parking space. So for every hour, you must go and put in money there.
Yes.
I forgot all about it. Spent about 2-3 hours with Shade and the new baby. Then walked out of the hospital. Then walked back to my flat where we lived. Forgot my car. The next morning I woke up. I was going to teach at Brooklyn College. I had my key in my hand, so I went downstairs. I said, in the garage, where's my car? And I said, my car is not here. So, and then for 2 days, I decided I was going to miss the class. So I took a train to Brooklyn College. When I got back, I said, where is this car? And then I said, well, the car will surface at some point. Then I get a call from the New York Police Department saying that your car is parked on 2nd Avenue. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? At that point, it came back to me. I said, yes, wait a minute. When I went to see the baby 2 days ago, it's an express. That's something that I have no explanation for. What happened to me there, but it must be something about being overjoyed. You go into some kind of overdrive. And I thought the story had to be told.
That's why
I'm sure.
Amnesiac.
Whatever it is, yes. Some psychologists who hopefully will read the book will at least diagnose what happened to me.
What happened to you that time? Thank God it didn't last long. Which was interesting. There was one scene that really interested me in that your New York scene, and that was when you met Duro.
Oh, Duro Ladipo came to the house.
Yes.
He came to do a play at the Namama International Experimental Theatre.
Yeah.
He came to do Obakoso.
Yeah.
As he finished the play, I walked up to him. I was there. Shade was there, my wife, and BJ. So walked up to him and said to him, look, we live not far from here. How about dinner tomorrow? He said he will come to dinner. So we invited him to dinner. And when he got there, of course, don't forget, at that time, Duro Ladipo was called Shango, because that was his role in the play. Yes. And the wife was called Oya. So we got there and Shango came to dinner in the house and we had a lovely time. And Shade made something that looked like pounded yam from Farina. So he loved it. He loved the food. Oh, he ate so much food. And throughout the dinner, he was taking his Henneken's beer. I had Henneken's beer in cans. Yes. He was taking the canned beer and all that. Then at the end of dinner, as a form of aperitif, I brought a bottle of brandy, which I had just bought. Remember, I was at school, then I was a student. So I bought this big bottle of brandy, Courvoisier brandy. I won't forget, it was a big bottle. And I wanted to show off, so I said, I brought the bottle, I kept it there. And then, Shango said, oh, that's nice, Yemi. So he opened the glass and poured libation and then took a sip of my brandy. Then he said, Ileya, time to go home. And then he grabbed the bottle of brandy and said, Aira Koro. Which of course means in Yoruba, you don't see leftover of a god. So Shade thought it was a joke. So when he grabbed the bottle, put it on his agbada. So I said, sir, but the brandy is our brandy. So he took his Araja Koro. He repeated it. So he put his thing in his hand. And Shade was preaching me to tell him to drop the bottle of brandy. I said, I can't tell him. You don't talk to Shango. Shango is Shango. If he gets angry on us, his anger will come on us. So I don't forget the whole myth of Shango as an angry. So
and you guys followed him to the car.
So when we were going with him, Shade was pinching me and said, tell him to drop the bottle of brandy. So I said, this is tough for me. How can I tell him? You can see that. We got downstairs, went to the lift, got to his car. He thanked me very much and said, so I never saw him again, of course. Yes. And then I remember saying that we will see in Nigeria to reminisce about that experience. But it was a lovely man to have for dinner. But then that bottle of brandy that I took away that day, Shadi was angry and said, how can he take the bottle of brandy away? He said, well, the body Shango. So, that was quite an experience, quite an experience. Vijay was there too. Vijay left. Vijay was at that dinner.
Yes. Vijay left. He left, yes.
He left. But it was quite an experience.
And you had a lot of people coming in and on.
Yes.
Harriman and so on and so forth.
Well, the house was, we had a regular, Harriman was a fantastic
Johnson,
man.
everybody was coming around.
Les Harriman would come there with his pouch of pepper in his bag. Before he tasted the food, he would put pepper in the food.
But that's what Shoyinka does now.
Shoyinka, I think he stopped doing that.
Has he stopped? Because there was a piece on Shoyinka in just maybe like 8 years ago.
He still does it. Oh,
this lunch time with Financial Times.
Well, I didn't see
and
that.
They wanted to have a lunch, and
they didn't have pepper.
And then before the food came, Shoyinka brought something from his pocket.
No, Leslie Harriman always had a little pouch of pepper, very hot pepper.
Yeah.
Before he tasted the food, he poured it on the food. And then if after the meal, and he asked for brandy, because usually Harriman was so polished.
Yeah.
So after a meal, there had to be some kind of aperitif, and there had to be brandy, very good cognac. If he didn't have it, he would open his. He used to have a little bag. He would take his bag out. It was a cigar clean between his teeth. He would take his aperitif out and serve you first, and then he would serve himself. He didn't joke with things like that. I mean, he was so polished as an ambassador. Leslie Harriman was so polished, and you could tell. And when you look back at people like Leslie Harriman, and you say, do we still have ambassadors like that in this country? I don't know.
It is panache and
he had polished, and he knew it. Yeah. And he was a Shakiri man. He was full of himself. Yeah, there was a little courage to himself. There was a little courage. And he always told you that, oh, don't mind that fellow. He was a bushman. He didn't know what he was saying.
Now, let's come back to Nigeria.
Yes.
When you were with the Guardian.
Yes.
You had gone to Ife, and things just changed, and you just wanted to spend a short time with the Guardian. Then you had all this time where you played a key role, almost like, other than Stanley, you were kind of the face of the Guardian because of all the interviews with Awo, with Gandhi, with Perez.
Yes.
There was a drama with Gaddafi, and all of that, and so on and so forth. And then suddenly you were asked to leave.
Yes.
And today you were fired. The next day, you are MD of Daily Times.
Yes.
You said that if anybody did not believe in miracles, your life was an example in miracles.
True, Sam. No, it was an interesting period in my life. I mean, the transition from the Guardian was a place that I loved working in, and we're doing so well. And the paper gave us so much. Alex Ribu, looking back now, gave us so much latitude to do what we wanted to do there. He was a fantastic publisher, even though he fired me the way he did, but he was a fantastic publisher. He gave us absolute free hand to operate at the Guardian. When I first took the proposal for interviews to him, he loved it and said, oh, sure, we'll do interviews. And then we went around together until, of course, the Gaddafi incident. And then suddenly, I don't know, looking back now, I don't know what happened, why he fired us. I think he must have thought that we were becoming too big not for ourselves, but for the institution itself. Yes. Yeah. And he couldn't control us anymore. I can only say, because he and I never sat down to talk about it again. And then, of course, I got fired. I was abroad. I was interviewing Benazir Bhutto.
Yes.
I was in Pakistan.
In London. Yeah.
And so I left Pakistan.
To London.
Came to London. I was having lunch with Dove Edwin when I called Sade. She was then working at Now Merchant Bank.
Yes.
To say that I was on my way back home. He said, where are you? I said, I was in London. He said, you better come back home. Happened. You've been fired. Yes. I said, fired how? And then, of course, the rest is history. When I then arrived and went to see Stanley, Stanley then told me what had happened. I went and resigned and left. That evening, Ibrahim Alpha came to the house to see me. He was then chief of our staff. And Ibrahim Alpha then said to me, he used to come to the house, but it was like in a hurry on that evening. Later I found out why. He said to me, Yemi, you're going to go to Daily Times. And I said, Chief, no, Daily Times, no, not me. Daily Times is a government paper. So he snapped at me, and Ibrahim Alpha and I were very close. But for the first time, he got angry, snapped, he said, shut up. He said, do you have a better job? We're trying to give you a landing, soft landing, and you say you don't want it. Take the daytime job and not be silly, and then you can resign tomorrow if you don't like it. Yeah. And when he snapped at me, I thought, this Ibrahim never talked to me like that before. Apparently, what had happened was that he had been sent by the president, Babangida,
Yes.
to see if he would accept this job.
Yeah.
Because we should not announce his name and then he goes and turns it down.
Want it.
So when Ibrahim came, he was on a kind of reconnaissance mission to see whether I will accept the job. So he was trying to figure me out and size me up. And I said, all right, if that's what you think, Chief, I'll take the job. That's Friday evening.
Yes.
Monday morning, my name was announced as MD of the Daily Times. Now, so obviously what happened was that, and the story I didn't say in the book was that when they had a meeting of Security Council on Monday morning, President Babangida had told Gambo, who knew me very well, had told Patrick Oshoni, and I think I told Ibrahim to say, when we get to the council meeting tomorrow, and I asked for somebody to go to the Daily Times, we'll have to drop Alfredo Pupo's name, who was Aikomu's candidate.
Yeah.
So you, Ibrahim, you mentioned Yemi's name. I'll ask Patrick to. And then,
that's Maradona.
But that's the story. I never asked him this, but that's what I was told happened. Yeah. When they got to the meeting, apparently the president then said, look, this Daily Times job, somebody has to go there. Now that Chief Oshaba has left it.
Yes.
And he said to Patrick Oshaba, he said, Patrick, what do you think? He said, yeah, this young man, that was fired at the guy. What's his name again? He knew me very well. So what's his name again? He said, his name is, I think his name is Yemi Ogunbiyi. Yes. So Gambo said, oh yes, Yemi Ogunbiyi. He said, So he said, Ibrahim, he said, Ibrahim, what do you think of Yemi? Should he be a good person for you? He said, oh, Yemi would do a good job at Daily Times. Yeah. So he turned around to Gambo, who was IG. He said, Mama, what do you think? He said, yeah, I think Yemi will do a good job, Mr. President. So he turned to Aikoma and said, Gus. He used to call him Gus, for short for Augustus. Gus, you've lost out now. Your man cannot go to Daily Times. And he said, but we've sent a letter already. He said, well, we'll draw the letter. He said, just send for Tony Momo to go and announce quickly that. That's the story I was told. I never asked him, but Tony Momo was sent for, apparently, to the meeting.
Want you.
Why he didn't? Why the meeting was going on? They sent for him. And he then, at that point, he told me himself, that when the president called him and said, go and announce Yemi's name as MD of the Daily Times. And they were also going to change the MD of the new Nigerian. It was going to be Sidi Ali Siraju. So Sidi Ali was to go, Sidi is dead now. So he then said, Sidi Ali was going to the guy, new Nigerian, and Yemi to go to the Daily Times. And Tony said to me himself that he said, no, I don't think Yemi will do a good job there. And the president said to him, sorry, that's the person I want for the job. So you go and announce it. And so in the morning of that day, I was in the house I was living in Alex Ibu's house in Ikeja. And I got a call from Mohammed, who was then PAMSEC for information. The information offices were then where EFCC is now on Awolowo Road.
Yeah.
Mohammed said, is that? I said, yes, this is he. He said, congratulations, you've been appointed MD of Daily Times.
Here is my poem in the series, The Politician.
I expected to win. Everyone called me winsome. Skin like oil. I was pocketsome. All grinned to my sons. Enough to flush. Masses waved and fawned. But Iroko tall. They let me crash. What a con. Went to the poll, didn't vote me their gold. Mercurial they were without mercy.
Thank you for being on this show. You can join my column at www.samomashe.com and on Twitter @SamOmashe. And until next time, be good.